Hello and welcome to The Gaggle, where we challenge and, if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Szamuely. With me today, of course, is co-founder of The Gaggle, Peter Lavelle, host also of RT's talk show, Crosstalk. Well, Peter, we've had occasion in the recent past to talk about the peculiarities coming out of Boris Johnson's global Britain. We've had bizarre pronouncements from the UK Defence Minister, Ben Wallace, full of
that name again.
Yeah, exactly. Fire and brimstone. And then from the foreign minister, Dominic Raab. And then recently we had a UK warship doing an incursion in the Crimea. So over the weekend, we had another bizarre episode. The Times of London published a story under the headline, "Military Chief Reveals Secret New Role for Special Forces Against China and Russia." China and Russia, so not Haiti and the Dominican Republic or whatever, so China and Russia. And says, Britain's special forces will take on new covert mission against China and Russia as they shift their focus to countering, quote, big states adversaries. And then he says that army sources said special forces might be given, quote, politically treacherous, unquote, tasks such as training the navies of countries near the South China Seas to better defend against Chinese hostility. And then they will also use technology such as fish drones and artificial intelligence, carry out deception operations. And then it says that they quote this guy, Totten, who's under the head of these special forces. What we will be able to do is allow the special forces to focus on more difficult, more complex counter-Russia, counter-China tasks. It takes real specialist expertise, so we will allow them to have more time and people to address those, and we can conduct some of the tasks such as maritime counter-terrorism, for example, or partnered operations. And so it goes on, this article, listing these various things that they will be supposedly doing. So, a little bit of counterterrorism, fighting off, mercenary forces, doing some geopolitical countering of Russia. Now, reading this, you're sort of baffled. I mean, we're talking about 4,000 troops. You're taking on Russia, you're taking on China simultaneously. I mean, this is just bordering on insanity. Again, as we mentioned about the time when that Russian warship entered the territorial waters of Russia, if there were a serious opposition in the UK, then they would be raising questions in Parliament. What the hell is the United Kingdom doing, getting itself into a possibly shooting war with Russia? So here, what the hell are these Royal Marines doing, preparing for, ongoing conflicts with Russia and China? This is something that's ongoing. This isn't saying, well, in theory, if there's a war. This is something that they're planning is ongoing. This seems, the height of insanity. I mean, post-Brexit Britain just seems to have gone off his head, or it may be just that Boris Johnson is just such an intellectual lightweight that even those of us who never thought much of him are kind of stunned by his idiocy. Peter, what was your take?
Well, I mean, we're speaking now, this is July 19, 2021. Are we at war with Russia and China? No, we're not. Are they, I mean, what kind of political changes are they, are they in the regime change business? What if they get caught? What if they get killed? I mean, is that a cause belli? I mean, are we looking at a conflict here? I mean, what is the plausible deniability here? I mean, this is ridiculous. And thanks for signaling it out to the world, because there'll be countermeasures, okay? And then when we have these kind of countermeasures, do we create the prospect of a heightened conflict? I mean, this is just ridiculous. I mean, this is looking for a fight. It's looking for a fight when you don't need one.
And you raise a very good point there, because of course, when they get involved in this, and then Russia or China hits back against these British forces with some venom, does NATO go into action? I mean, does Article 5 become immediately operative? So does that mean that suddenly the whole of Europe and the United States will be at war with Russia and China? Again, you would hope that some people would raise this question, what the hell are you doing? I mean, you're kind of endangering all of us with this tomfoolery.
Yeah, particularly, I mean, what is the national security interest here? I don't understand that. I mean, what national security interest does the UK have about like fishing rights off of Taiwan? Right. I mean, yeah. Maybe the mainland and Taiwan have an issue about that. Why is the UK getting involved?
Yeah, exactly.
And you bring up the most important point is that, with these ridiculous alliances, which are just rife with danger. I mean, it's, August 1914 all over again. We have one event in an obscure place and it puts in a chain reaction, a cascade effect here. Right. I mean, this is just the height of irresponsibility. I mean, well, can some of these issues be dealt with maybe at a negotiating table?
Right, but that's the thing. I mean, where before, let's say, you had, let's say Lithuania gets into a conflict with Russia. No one really cares. Okay, Lithuania gets swatted down, and that's the end of that. This is the United Kingdom. This is a permanent member of the UN Security Council. This is a nuclear power. This is a major player. So once the UK gets involved in fighting like this, then it becomes a very serious business. I mean, because then it's going to be quite hard to avoid the rest of NATO getting involved and the United States also getting involved. I mean, here it says this bizarre thing about, it says, after the Manchester Arena terrorist attack in May 2017, members of the Special Air Service were spotted on the streets alongside the police carrying out raids. Elite soldiers were also deployed to Syria to help the fight against ISIS, along with missions in countries like Libya, Afghanistan, and more recently, Mozambique. Now, it's not a good idea bringing up all of these issues, because then people say, yeah, I kind of remember what these British special forces were doing. They were helping overthrow Gaddafi. They were actively involved in Libya in 2011. So that gave us this, slave trade, the migrant flows from Libya, which are before that had been controlled. In Syria, they did nothing. They did jack against ISIS. They were obviously working against the actual legitimate government in Damascus. So these operations that they're listing, these are all bad news. And by bringing up the Manchester Arena bombing, that was perpetrated by precisely somebody who had been dispatched to Libya by the UK government. And then he comes back, with the usual blowback effect. So this is, talk about bad news.
Well, I mean, it's bad news in another way. I mean, what is the international legality of this?
Exactly.
Okay.
That's right.
Going around, rules-based order. Is this part of the rules-based order?
Right.
I mean, you said in the article, to fight mercenaries. Well, they sound like the mercenaries to me.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I mean, and plus, I mean, if this is the way that the kind of statecraft they want to conduct, then other countries will do exactly the same thing. Like, that's why we have international law. I know, if you live in the UK, you live in the United States, you almost never hear international law being invoked. But when you're a small country, that's what you need to protect yourself. Okay, that's why you constantly hear about it in the United Nations, because most of the countries in the United Nations are weak and small, not very rich. And international law is the only thing that they can wrap themselves into. I know, for Boris Johnson, he may be completely oblivious to this, okay? And maybe just revels in the fact that he can send his 4,000 guys to go, beat up people, kill people, rob people.
But you got a good point there. So there's a question of legality there. So everything that they're doing in Syria was illegal because they're not there by invitation of the government. Everything they did in Libya, illegal. They weren't there by invitation of the government. But of course, I can say, hey, you Libya and Syria, you want to get a fistful of fives. can't quite do that with Russia and China. And so, which is what they found in Crimea. But this is why this sort of talk is just such recklessness. You're suddenly picking on adversaries who are much stronger than you are. That's
fight back.
good thinking.
Well, yeah, but what they can do, again, the worst nightmare is an international incident where people, do you escalate? Do you de-escalate? If you want to de-escalate, who do you call? Right. Okay, I mean, this is the nightmare that we at least one good thing is that they're understanding that it's great power rivalry. Good, we've gone back to the way international relations have been working since ancient Greece. Okay, read Thucydides. Okay. That's international relations right there. It was invented there, okay? And so, but I mean, if you're going to start engaging in great power politics and rivalry, and you're going to be using mercenaries and illegal means to do it, you've got a whole lot of trouble coming your way, because countries like Russia and China that guard their sovereignty very, very jealously, they will punch back. I mean, is Boris Johnson, is he just begging for a fight? Is he begging?
Yeah, well, that's a very good question, because,
I mean, why is this article come out at all?
Well, exactly, because it's secret. It's so secret that the Times of London runs it with it. But, if you think of what happened during the incursion into the territorial waters of Russia, and then if you think of, like last week, which we discussed, that strange article that was published under the byline of Luke Harding about Trump and the Kremlin, which again, just like the Steele dossier, you think this is obviously coming from MI6. Britain's role seems to be to try to provoke a conflict between the United States and Russia. I mean, that's what it seems to be doing. And it's a kind of a baffling position to take, because, in previously, even under Thatcher, they tried to kind of mediate between the US and in those days, the Soviet Union. It's a strange position for the UK to try to provoke a conflict. I mean, what does the UK get out of it? Just, a feeling of being important in the world? I mean, I don't see what UK interests are being served here.
Maybe they think they're serving the special relationship that's not very special and never has been very special. Is it as a result of Brexit, constantly wanting to punch above your weight? Okay, I don't get it, because all I see is a river of tears in all of this here. And I'm glad you brought up Libya, and particularly Syria. There's nothing noble about that. That is a gross violation of international law. And if they're patting themselves on the back for what they did in Syria, well, under international law, probably a war crime.
I mean, when you think of the absolute disaster that the UK, along with other countries, have wrought on Syria, again, a country that you don't have a conflict with. You may not like the government in Damascus, but it's nothing to do with you. He's nowhere near you. I mean, it's geographically in a different place. I mean, it's not a member of the EU. So you've done that. You've inflicted all this misery on Syria. For what reason exactly? What UK Western interest did that serve? I mean, you can't even say that this is something to do with the Israel lobby. I mean, you say, okay, oh yeah, that's why the United States did this, because of the Israel lobby. What if you're going to make that argument? I don't even get the UK angle, because that's what's the Israel lobby got to do with that? I mean, it's a strange policy.
It's deny Russia. Deny Russia.
I guess that's it. That also is a bizarre kind of idea. What kind of a policy is that?
It isn't one. It isn't one. It doesn't change the. I mean, how could that change the dynamic? I mean, is the Russians going to say, "Oh, we're just going to pick up stakes and leave"?
Right.
I don't think so. As a matter of fact, just the reverse.
Yeah.
Is just the reverse, because what did we have in September 2015? Is that Putin went to the United Nations General Assembly because of the shenanigans of the UK, of the US, and its allies in Syria, that Russia will go in and it will destroy the caliphate, which
well, that's it. I mean,
it did.
That's right. That's why it makes no sense. I mean, it's just like, when they went in to Libya, what interest did that serve? I mean, it's like, you know, getting rid of Gaddafi. You know, what you know, it didn't, because actually, you know, just in terms of what was the Western interest, he kept the refugee flow or the migrant flow from Africa. You know, he stalled it. In other words, you know, he kept it under control. With him gone, that control is gone. So, you know, it was exactly the direct opposite of any serious UK interest. And the UK was,
yeah, and then
Libya
case. And then you have these migrants coming across the Mediterranean. Then you have Merkel open up the door, and that's why Brexit succeeded.
Right.
So British interests were served, I suppose, huh?
I guess so. But given that Cameron, the genius behind the Libya thing, had actually been pro EU, he hadn't been a Brexit person. In fact, Brexit broke his prime ministership. He had to resign because he threw his weight into the pro EU campaign, and he lost. So it was a humiliation for him. He had to go. So even on a personal level, it didn't serve any interest for him.
Again, George, there's an abundance of incompetence surrounding us. Okay,
there is.
One of my favorite phrases, and you can use it every single day talking about these things: the law of unintended consequences.
Right.
What happened? Has this been wiped from their genetic code? Because they don't seem to they comprehend there is, for every action, there's an equal reaction, okay? Right. You're not the only players on the international stage. It's not a playground, okay? Yeah. It's not a video game.
Right, but what's strange is that hitherto, the Western countries had actually been quite skillful, despicable and cynical though it may be, they've been quite skillful at picking on opponents who were too weak
That's right.
able to hit back. You know, Yugoslavia, or whether there's any
Panama,
Nicaragua,
Grenada.
Yeah, exactly. You can just go through the list. Always pick nice. Even Libya and Syria. Basically they can't do much. If you're going for Russia and China, which is what the British and this is what this guy was talking about, and what the Times story is, that this is of a piece with everything else coming out from Johnson and Robb and Ben Wallace. They want to pick a fight with Russia and China. Now that really is not a good move, because the one thing that the British should have learned from the 20th century with 2 world wars is that how you quickly lose all power is when you go to war with formidable adversaries. Yeah. When you pick on weak opponents, you can stay in power. If you take on big powers, then you're in trouble.
Again, I'm going to have to reach back to Monty Python. I'm sorry, but what was the scene? Because they didn't have horses, they had these little rocks, and so they would create the trottings. Right. We don't have any horses. It sounds like we have horses. This is what's happening. Okay. Right. Because you don't have, if you want to go on the international stage and be part of the local major power rivalry, you better have the assets to do it. Okay, right. Not just this is ambush tactics, run and hide. Okay, right. That works with Panama. That works with Nicaragua.
With Nicaragua, that works exactly. Yugoslavia, okay. Exactly. They can't do much. Yeah.
But if you want to do it with China, woo, yes. You're gonna feel it.
That's right.
And you know what? Again, to reiterate, that can have a knock-on effect that no one wants to see. Okay, something happening with a bunch of rocks in the Pacific, and then we face the Third World War.
That's right. I don't think Boris Johnson is going to get that summit with Putin. I know he was.
I don't think so.
But I want a meeting. Give me a meeting.
Because there's no respect.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
There's no respect.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. I mean, and then when John Kerry, he's trying to talk to the Chinese leadership, and he ends up getting the wrong numbers. I'm sorry, the president's not available for you right now. Okay. No. If there's no respect, that we're in a troubled era, and that's what we have right now.
Right.
Okay.
Right. That's right.
And I'm sorry. I mean, no offense to our viewers in the UK, but I mean, Boris Johnson's not showing the best face for your country. And in my opinion,
I don't think so at all. I mean, I think that you've had a whole bunch of these extraordinarily mediocre leaders. I mean, you know, we're thinking of Cameron, and then Theresa May, and then you know, Johnson. Who was before Cameron? Oh, yeah, Gordon Brown, Tony Blair. You know, this is a panoply of pretty mediocre leaders. It's an unfortunate thing, you know. I mean, you know, whatever else you can think about Thatcher. I mean, Thatcher was quite a substantial global political leader. I mean, you know, there's a lot of things one can say about her, but that
no, is one of my really hardcore lefty friends in the UK told me, and I think it is one of the most amazing things that he said to me. Margaret Thatcher taught me everything I need to know about politics. What a compliment for your arch rival.
Right. Yeah. All right, Peter.
All right. On that note here, I mean, geez, that article blew me away. I'm not sure what they were trying to do here. Anyway, we're on Locals, folks. So type in thegaggle.locals.com. George and I are doing one-on-one Zoom calls with gagglers. It's a lot of fun. We really enjoy it. And we actually have a nice little schedule that's building up. The Gaggle store has been launched. There are the mugs, the t-shirts, other items. The tote bags look really cool, I have to say. You always need a tote bag, always. Definitely. It's obligatory, actually. Yeah. And we're gonna do a Q&A series coming up real soon, and live streaming, which we've been waiting for a long time. Boys, calm down. We're almost done. And we have a tip jar. And please show your generosity, because we need it. This doesn't do itself. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know, we have a Q&A, which is coming up. You know, we'll be answering gagglers' questions. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I know gagglers always have very interesting comments and questions, and you know, we'd love to begin addressing them. So remember, if you like the Gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon. Bye.